Dr. Barnaby helped create the whole nightmare of Dead Rising, but he never once says, "Yeah, this is my fault." And that's exactly why he freaks me out. Like, what kind of person could be wrapped up in a massacre, basically start a zombie outbreak, and still walk around thinking, "Nope, I did the right thing"? In Dead Rising, that guy is Dr. Russell Barnaby. He's the scientist behind the parasite research in Santa Cabeza, the dude whose work leads to the Queens, the affection, and pretty much everything that goes wrong with Willamette. Even when he's dying, he's still telling himself he's the victim, the patriot, and the protector of life. Anyone but the villain. So in this video, I just want to unpack that. Why does a guy who helped turn a town into a graveyard still act like he did everybody a favor? Alright, so who is Dr. Barnaby? He's not just an old man being annoying in the security room. Before the game even starts, he's running a US backed research project in Santa Cabeza, this little rural town. He and his team are testing parasitic wasps on livestock. On paper, it sounds kind of cool. More cattle, more food, solve shortages, and save the world, right? But the side effect? Those wasps bring dead flesh back to life. That's your zombie origin right there. One queen escapes, the infection spreads, and Santa Cabeza is done. The whole town is gone. And the government's like, we definitely can't admit that. So they bombed the place until the world they took out a stronghold of the Central American drug trade. Suddenly it's not we screwed up an experiment. It's we stopped the bad guys. Meanwhile, Barnaby gets airlifted out, tucked away under protection, and later dropped into Willamette because Homeland Security still needs his brain. So no, he's not some side character. He basically designed the horror of Dead Rising and walked away from the original disaster. That's why his denial matters so much. Barnaby's first move is super basic. He just lies about what Santa Cabeza was. When Brad and Jesse talk about it, they repeat the official line: drug trade stronghold, terrorist activity, all that. Barnaby doesn't correct them, he leans into it. He talks about terrorists instead of saying, "This is my lab and it went to hell." And that one line flips the whole situation. If Santa Cabeza is a drug stronghold, then the people who died there aren't regular families anymore. They're hostiles. They're targets. The bombing suddenly sounds like a harsh but necessary operation. And for Barnaby, that's perfect. Now he gets to be the poor scientist caught in the middle, not the guy who set all of this in motion. In his head, the real issue is how the government reacted or how terrorists reacted, not the fact that his experiments made the outbreak possible in the first place. If you're desperate to dodge blame, turning your victims into criminals in the story you tell is a pretty easy first step. When the lie isn't enough, Barnaby pulls out the next card. It was necessary. He talks about his research like it's this huge noble mission. First is about food, later he's basically hinting at using zombies to unlock immortality. In his mind, he's not a mad scientist. He's a genius whose work was just too advanced and too dangerous for the world. Even when people are dying everywhere, he sticks to phrases like absolutely necessary and protecting life. There's a scene where he literally falling apart and he's still insisting he did the right thing. At that point, the horror isn't a moral failure to him. It's just the cost of progress. That's pure self-protection. If he ever admits, yeah, my research got a whole town killed, then he has to admit his life's work is monstrous, not heroic. So he builds this comforting story where his work was vital, other people mishandled it, and intentions matter more than outcomes. And that's what makes him feel real. We've all heard that kind of language in real life, calling horrible things operations, writing off suffering as unavoidable, pretending preventable deaths are just how it has to be. Barnaby sounds less like a cartoon villain and more like a guy giving a press statement after everything already went wrong. Now compare him to the Key siblings. Carlito also lived through Santa Cabeza. That was his home. He watched the military bomb it off the map to hide what happened. He reacts in a horrible way. He sets up Willamette outbreak as revenge and as a way to force the truth into the open. Innocent people die because of him. The game never says that's okay. But here's the difference. He's honest about the original atrocity. He doesn't call it necessary. He calls it what it is. He looks straight at what was done to his people. Isabela starts on Carlito's side. She knows the science, she knows the town, and she blames people like Frank and the DHS at first, but over time she flips. Working with Frank, she actually lays everything out. The experiments, the escape queen, the bombing, and the cover-up. After Carlito dies, she's the one trying to stop this from happening again instead of just getting revenge. And the thing is, she could easily use the same excuse as Barnaby does. We were helping humanity. We didn't know. She chooses not to. She tells the truth, even though it means admitting her own side did something unforgivable. Barnaby never reaches that point. He dies still telling himself he protected life, still blaming everyone else. Isabela shows that someone inside the nightmare can choose honesty. Barnaby shows how far someone will go to avoid it. So why can't he just admit it? First, his ego is massive. Barnaby sees himself as his brilliant, essential scientist. Admitting guilt means admitting his big achievement led to an outbreak, a bombing, and the death of an entire town. That completely destroys how he sees himself. Second, he's wrapped in power. The government saves him, hides him, and feeds him a story. They call Santa Cabeza a drug hub, called the bombing justified, and treat him like a valuable asset. When everybody around you keeps telling you you did the right thing, it's way too easy to believe it. And third, he's scared. By the time we meet him, he's old, sick, and already lived through one disaster. Admitting guilt isn't just saying, I'm sorry. It means accepting that his entire life work is a stain on history, not a contribution. So he clings to the version of reality where he's not the hero. It's not that he can't see the bodies, it's that he can't live with the idea that he helped put them there. Put all of that together, and you get a guy who would rather rewrite reality than admit he's the villain of Santa Cabeza and Willamette. That's why you never hear "this was my fault" from him. In his head, that line just doesn't exist. In a game full of chainsaws, cults, and over-the-top boss fights, Barnaby is a different kind of monster. He's a reminder that sometimes the scariest monster in the zombie story isn't the thing chasing you through the mall. It's the person who created the nightmare and still goes to their grave insisting they did nothing wrong.
So the government's now in the zombie-making business. The whole story about the drug trade was a cover-up?
What do you know? We were trying to mass produce cattle. Do you have any idea how much meat Americans consume in a single day? That research was absolutely necessary.